So glad you are with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansen with the Northern Alliance Financial folks. Blake King and Cameron Graham. Guys, nice to be back with you.
Yeah, good to see you.
All the Mainers that are watching us constantly throughout the state of your 10 different offices, coming and going. How many more offices can you have to make it more convenient for the Mainers?
I don't really know. That's a good question. I think that's outside our pay grade.
Maybe one more north.
One. Okay, Cameron's already put
maybe
it.
one more north.
That'll be yours, Cameron.
Yeah.
As we get ready in retirement, maybe even 5 years approaching, there probably is something that we need to review. I don't know whether it's standard for you to do a 5-year plan, but if we're trying to do a plan that's going to last out 30 years, heading into it 5 years before, when we talk about a financial review, it can seem daunting for a lot of people. What does a financial review include if we're going to set that up in preparation for where we're headed?
Yeah, absolutely. The review process in and of itself, we use what's known as a fact finder, right? And we want to try to catch you in what's known as the retirement red zone. So 5 years before retirement, right? We want to be able to start identifying and addressing anything that can be coming down the pipeline and see where it is that you really want to go. Because also in the last 5 working years of your life, that's usually going to be your highest grossing earning years for working, right? And maybe there's some catch up that needs to be done from contributions to your 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, or you need to start thinking about shifting some funds, going from less stock to more bonds, like de-risking your portfolio, right? So we just want to be able to assess your current assets and cash flow. Ask you, hey, how does that feel? Like, do you think when you retire, your house is going to be paid off? Or are you going to have that mortgage taken off of your monthly cash flow expenses?
Sure.
All right. Well, if that's the case, do we need to be able to switch your portfolio up to provide you with a different level of cash flow than if you're going to have a mortgage all the way through retirement? So we just need to be able to assess and identify what your assets, goals, hopes, dreams, expectations are.
We see a lot of people who have been through their accumulation phase with advisors. I've worked with somebody. I've done it. They've been with me for a while. Is there a difference, Cameron, in somebody that is an accumulation advisor and somebody who's working with now distribution, who specializes in not just amassing the money that you have, but making sure the money that you have lasts throughout retirement?
Yeah, absolutely. An accumulation advisor is more so just concerned with accumulating as much money as they can within your account, which is great. But they're probably not talking a whole lot about other aspects of retirement planning, Social Security, budgeting, tax planning, Medicare, legal and estate. And that's a huge part of what we do as fiduciaries, looking out for your best interests and factoring everything in to make sure it works for you.
We're talking about costs and where we're going and how we're going to pay things off, and we may get to that point of our red zone of retirement, and we're finding ourselves, because of the economy over the last several years, in some debt situation. And I still want to retire. I can't take this anymore, but we haven't figured in how much we have to continue to pay. Are there good debt strategies management-wise as we move into this red zone, Blake?
Yeah, absolutely. Cameron and I were just talking about this the other day, and I talked to clients about it who do have a significant amount of primarily credit card debt. You know, mortgage debt is a little bit different because it's a long-term type of debt. And say you refinance your mortgage in 2020 and you have an interest rate of like 2.85 or 3%, right? Like, keep that gravy train going. But if you have a significant amount of credit card debt or healthcare debt that's been piling on throughout the years, there are definitely kind of rebalancing your credit and transferring your balances from your existing credit cards into a 0% intro balance transfer credit card. And when you do that, you just think about the money that you're paying to the existing credit card, but you do it on the 0% interest, and now you're just attacking principal, right? So that's one thing to be cognizant of or considerate of. The others, which is a little bit more of a higher interest rate, is going to be either car loans or personal loans, right? Is there any way that we can chop off those expenses sooner than later and do that now when you're maybe in a more tax advantageous bracket, or do it later in retirement where you're going to be even in a more tax advantageous bracket? So once you free up those debt expenses, that is going to increase your cash flow significantly.
And paying attention to exactly where that money is going. When we start to pay attention to what we're going to need, healthcare probably is at the top of the list of things that people don't want to have to pay attention to, but becomes so significant in our 5-year plan.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it, especially for somebody who's maybe retiring before 65, and they might not, from their employer, maybe something doesn't carry over to them, so now they got to essentially go out on their own.
And waiting for Medicare.
And yeah, while they're waiting, kind of in that dull period, they got to figure something out, which can be crazy expensive to be able to afford that. So you definitely got to factor that into any budget expenses, anything like that at all.
Supplemental plans that we need to be paying attention to as we move into that venue, Blake?
Yeah, the supplemental plans, we have strategic partnerships with Medicare professionals, some of the best Medicare professionals in the state. And so they're the individuals that can create a custom tailored Medicare supplemental plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, because there are Medicare Advantage plans that can be at zero cost to the end consumer, right? And then there are ones that are actually going to be costing significantly more, but they cover more from a medical side of things. So depending on what your health is, what your medications are, if you have any pre-existing conditions, that Medicare professional will be able to identify as like, okay, well, this is the best coverage for you. You come back to us and be like, hey, our premiums are gonna be X, Y, Z. It's like, all right, let's put it in the budget, right? And let's create the cash flow for it.
Are there HSA programs that so many people have been in for a long time that they may be failing to take advantage of?
Absolutely. HSAs are very advantageous vehicles for people to use in retirement, because you can actually use HSA dollars. Number one, if you say you retire before 65 and you don't have Medicare, you can actually use HSA dollars to pay for 𝗁𝗲 premiums. So if you wanted to stay with the same insurance company that you had while you were employed, because it's the same doctor, it's in network, you've had a 30-year relationship with them, those HSA dollars can be used to pay for 𝗁𝗲 premiums for 18 months, right? And then in retirement, when you're on Medicare, you can also use HSA dollars to help pay for Medicare expenses as well.
So much to think about. I want to get into Social Security strategies, but first I want to make sure that you understand where you're going. And understanding where you're going is coming with a financial review to be able to put a plan together. It's all included in this book, Conquering Retirement, that Lance Gilman has put together. It is yours free when you come into the office for an appointment. Within that, we'll put together a complimentary plan, a written plan that takes a look at your financial review. How does your retirement look as you move forward into that red zone of retirement? Make the phone call. Set up an appointment, 877-241-7430. Let us help you conquer retirement the way that you need it conquered. Click the QR code, give us a call, set up an appointment. It's all free. Let's do it for you. We'll be right back.
Our team at Northern Alliance is very diverse in terms of the services that we offer.
We do take a team-based approach.
We carry multiple licenses so that clients can do everything within the Northern Alliance financial team.
If it has anything to do with retirement, that's what we specialize in.
Budget planning, tax considerations, Social Security strategies, risk management, long-term care, Medicare, health planning, as well as legal and estate planning.
We really are a one-stop shop.
There's Lance Gilman, Peter Hansen, Jeremy Barnard, myself. We do have a staff that is great.
In Maine, we have multiple locations to cover the vast array of the state.
You know, you can come in and have a conversation in person. And a lot of people are looking for these days. Things after COVID have changed to more Zoom, phone call sort of things. So we'll do those things, but we appreciate and would rather have you come in person and have a conversation face to face like this.
We're pretty approachable and we're going to listen to you. We're going to try to determine what your needs, your aspirations, those goals are, and then we're going to do everything that we possibly can to help you meet those goals.
It's lighthearted, it's carefree. We laugh like crazy. An atmosphere that I don't think is common in a lot of other practices.
We were talking about how well the team is bonding together, how similarly we all think, in that what we do, we want to actually make a difference.
Average everyday people helping average everyday people.
You know, we truly do put the client first.
Our mantra has been, when you take care of people, people take care of you.
And we want to take care of you. 877-241-7430. We're conquering retirement with Northern Alliance Financial. Brad Johansen with Blake King and Cameron Graham. Gentlemen, when we put together a financial plan, we have to figure out strategies. And there are a lot of people who don't believe that there is a Social Security strategy. Somebody says, it's my money. I can turn it on at 62. That's when I'm going to take it. I don't want them to have it any longer than that. What's wrong with the thinking of take it as soon as you can get it, Blake?
Yeah, I don't blame that guy, right?
Sure.
Like, it's okay. It's your money. You put it in. You want to take it whenever you want. But if you want to be very tactful and prudent about your decision-making process, we have tools that can help us identify when is the most optimal time to file for Social Security based off of you and your situation. Lance mentions in chapter 4 of his book different Social Security effects and how it's going to affect your income strategies and things of that nature. And so we use this on a daily basis when we're working with our clients, is trying to identify when is the best time to file for Social Security. When should you file for Social Security? Because you need to file actually several months before you actually want to start receiving payments, right? A lot of people aren't really aware of that rule, but you have to file and tell the Social Security Administration, hey, I want to file for this date. I want my benefits to start then.
Well, the interesting thing about it, too, is some people don't realize I'm going to take my money, they have it for me, and I'm going to continue working. The problem is if you continue working, the government has already said if you make more than $22,340 a year, I'm penalizing you for turning it on early. So waiting to full retirement age or 70, it could be, I think you've said it before, Blake, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in your decision making, right, Cameron?
Yeah, it's a huge decision because if we take it, let's say at 62, and we can only make up to $22,000, if we're making way over that, they're going to take $1 for every $2 that you do earn. So it's a 50% reduction in what you're getting from Social Security. Once you get to your full retirement age, that number goes up a little bit, and then after that, you make as much money as you want. But if we have other sources of income coming in, there may not be a need to take it at 62, and it could be way more beneficial to delay that.
Part of the income planning, and part of the income planning is maybe something that we don't talk about a lot, and that's estate planning, of saying where are estates going to go, what money is going to be ours, how do we have to figure in as we approach this in estate planning?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I think estate planning kind of is one of those mystifying concepts that people aren't really too sure as to whether or not they should have it, or if they should have it, it's going to cost too much money. So we do presentations all throughout the state, and we actually have estate planning attorneys come in and speak at our presentations to help identify all the different legal documents that are required in order for a successful transition into retirement, leading up to, giving an inheritance to your children, and what all goes into that. Like some of the most important documents that we think that you should have in place is going to be your healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, and a will, right? But your situation may be so unique based off of blended families and the amount of assets that you have available. A trust may be really important for you to have. So when you talk to us, we'll be able to talk to very high generalized concepts, but we also give you the ability to meet with one of our attorneys that we have a strategic partnership with in your geographical area.
Yeah, we talk about what's your number all the time, and there's preaching out there, or there's social media posts to say you have to have this or you have to have that. So I want to talk about a number that people are trying to figure out what's the best one. If I need an emergency fund going into retirement, is there a good number for an emergency fund?
Yeah, if you look at online, type in Google, what should I have for an emergency fund? Usually it's going to be about 6 months worth of cash on hand. But the actual answer to that is whatever you're comfortable with. Some people, they want to have $100,000 of cash sitting in their savings account, and that keeps them secure. Others, they can get by with 10, and they want the rest kind of growing. It's really unique to each individual.
Is an emergency fund more of an emotional decision, or is it math-based, Blake?
What Wall Street will tell you is that it's math-based, right? What real life will tell you is that it's emotional. It is. Because I've spoken to several different clients, or throughout my entire career, I've spoken to different clients. And, you know, if you look at people who have a very high earning potential and you need, say, $60,000 cash on hand, they're like, no, we're okay with 30. I want to put, you know, the rest in the market because I'm comfortable with market risk. Then we have other clients who have almost no money in the market. They want cash on hand of like $100,000, and their need is only $2,000 a month. So they've got like 5 years worth of reserves just sitting in cash in a safe in their house. So it's an emotional decision, is what I believe.
So the question becomes then, all right, if you're going to save that and you have 5 times the amount of what you need, then obviously you have a plan put together. And that's not necessarily the case. It's just a feeling thing, and we have to understand that math is going to play into this. So are we telling our money what to do, which means, all right, I've got my money for necessities. What do I want my retirement to look like? Cameron, if I'm setting aside stuff for lifestyle, how do I plan for that as an income? And are there questions I need to ask myself, or it's simply, what do I want my retirement to look like?
Yeah, that's something we try to establish right in the beginning when we sit down and talk with a client is, what are your actual goals? What does that look like? What do you want to accomplish? Because that ultimately is why you are saving these funds. That's why we're trying to help you come up with a plan to get you to where you want to be. So ultimately, that's question number one to figure out for sure.
Like you've said this before and used the term de-risking your portfolio. Because time changes, accumulation changes. We began with that in the beginning, that we've had 40 years of buying into the market, buying high, buying low, hopefully buying low most of the time and doing it. But because there was time to deal with the risk and the volatility of the market, we were good.
Right.
We don't have the time to make up the risk of the market. How do you de-risk your portfolio?
That's a great question. You can de-risk your portfolio in several different ways. If you're thinking about it just stock market related, right? Say you're in the accumulation phase and you have 100% of your money in stocks, and then you will go to retirement, or you're leading into retirement, and you may want to de-risk your portfolio and put more cash on hands or more bonds in your portfolio. The unfortunate thing about bonds is we all witnessed in 2022, they got hit pretty hard when the Fed started rising interest rates, right?
And it was supposed to be protective, right? And
you would think that's how it's been described in the past, but the new quote-unquote 60-40 rule is maybe sidelining some money that's not subject to market losses, right? And that can be really attractive to people, because if you have, say, 40% of your money not subject to market losses, and the rest is in the market subject to market losses, you know at least 40% of your money when you go to bed that night and wake up the next day, you have the same account balance that it was the day before. And your stock market money could be down, right? So it gives us some additional peace of mind, and there's different ways that we can structure accounts by de-risking them using what's known as safe buckets of money.
And all of that is done through a financial plan that we can help put together for you. We do it complimentary. Come in for a complimentary written financial plan. And we've talked about the book so much, Conquering Retirement, the one that Lance Gilman has put together. Copy of that is yours free as you come in, 877-241-7430 to set up your appointment so that we can put together the plan that's just right for you. What does retirement look like for you? Have you put together the budget? Have you put together the goals that you have to maybe last 30 years into retirement? Let us help you put that together. Click the QR code, call the number on your screen, 877-241-7430. What about investments? Should we dive into those? We will when we return.
When interest rates are low, you might be able to refinance your home, your car, even your credit cards. But when interest rates go up, it may make sense to refinance your retirement. Higher interest rates could provide income opportunities you may not even be aware of. What works for you in your portfolio during low interest rates may not work for you when interest rates are high. Find out if a retirement refi could work for you. Call today for your complimentary Refi Your Retirement.
Conquering Your Retirement, Northern Alliance Financial. Blake and Cameron are here. Brad Johansen with you. We're always glad that you spend your time with us. And I want to close out the program as we talk about some of these investments. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Let's go through them, Blake. Start with stocks and how important it is for us to be in those into and through retirement. Is it less so than what we've done for all the years that we've been in the market going into retirement?
Yeah, so how I describe stocks to people who think they know, they may not really know, I like to really keep it high level, right? Especially when we're talking about financial literacy and financial education. And when I'm talking to you, I want to kind of make sure at least you have a good baseline. So stocks, the way I describe it is they are ownership in a company. So like, let's just say you want to own $1 worth of Coca-Cola, right? So you say, hey, I want to be $1 owner in Coca-Cola. So now you own a piece of Coca-Cola. And as the value of Coca-Cola increases over time due to good sales, new products, new whatever it may be, you get to take benefit in that a company growing in value because they've got better revenues, they've made more money, so you get your dollar actually gets to increase more because the company increases in value more. But on the flip side, let's just say a bad batch of Coca-Cola comes out and there's a big recall. Well, that could have some negative headline attentions to Coca-Cola, right? And so the value of that $1 may go down in value because sales may go down or they're trying to handle legal fees, whatever it may be. But stocks are really important in a portfolio overall because they're the ones that tend to provide us the greatest growth in retirement, and they're really liquid. You know, you call me and say, hey, I want to sell my Tesla right now. Boom, we can sell your Tesla right then and there, right? So they're very liquid and they give us some of the greatest rates of returns in our portfolio.
Well, I talked about it before that bonds are supposed to be safe. How much should we be looking into bonds as we move into retirement, Cam?
Yeah, a lot of that's going to come down to our overall risk tolerance. Do we want 90% in stocks and only 10% in bonds? But as we get up older in age, we might want to dial that back to a 60-40. Because bonds are typically going to be our safer bucket of the portfolio. Now, like you said,
sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
It hasn't worked because they actually work inversely of interest rates. As interest rates go up, bond prices go down. As interest rates start coming down, bond prices go up. So as interest rates did inflate, then you saw bonds get killed.
Mutual funds.
Yep.
Where do we go with mutual funds? Is it a safe place?
Mutual funds are a form of diversification. So whenever I was talking about stocks earlier, mutual funds is a combination of stocks, right? Maybe Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, but they're all bundled and wrapped into one mutual fund, right? And that one mutual fund has what's known as a portfolio manager. That portfolio manager says, hey, I think Apple's going to go down, let's sell it. Or I think Tesla's going to go up, let's go buy it, right? So there are a lot of fees associated to mutual funds because they are actively managed by a portfolio manager. So if you may have a mutual funds inside your portfolio, so I don't believe there's anything wrong with them, but they may be riddled with hidden costs. And so it's something to be aware of because costs can really erode the value of your portfolio over time.
Exchange traded funds or real estate, Cam, where do those play in these?
Yeah, an exchange traded fund or an ETF operates similar to a mutual fund, but it doesn't have all the extra front-end load fees that a mutual fund might have, back-end load fees, and it's usually a fairly low expense ratio. So sometimes somebody will come in and they'll have a whole portfolio consisting of just mutual funds. We can pretty much create that same thing in ETFs and automatically cut out a bunch of hidden fees.
And is real estate a place as I move into retirement where I should be thinking about?
I think real estate, if you have the capital as well as the energy to deal with real estate, right? Like it's a very active type of management that is a good diversifier for your portfolio. Like we can't deny the prices of houses in Maine have just skyrocketed over time. So they appreciate a lot in value, but it just requires so much work and attention that you may just not have the time for.
CDs, index funds, and annuities. We're running out of time, but I want to make sure that we cover all of those.
Yep. Yeah, CD is just going to be, you're going to lock in at a specific rate. You might get right now 3.5%, 4%, depending on what your bank's going to get. And you know you're going to get that for 6, 8, 12, 24 months, whatever the longevity of that CD is, and that's not going to change.
And so I move into an index fund. Is there cost involved in this as well?
Yeah, there are costs associated to index funds, but index funds are also like kind of like exchange traded funds. Sure. They're just in a mutual fund version. So they are lower cost, not necessarily as cheap as ETFs, but same kind of concept.
We haven't really dived full bore into annuities, but annuities now, especially in fixed index annuities, are now zero floor strategies where you're talking about asset preservation. And it may be something that you need to be looking into because the solutions in these are so much better than they were a decade ago.
Absolutely, yeah. What we're seeing right now from the fixed index rate, fixed index annuity area is really going to be helpful for our clients long term, because the way they work is if the market goes up, you get a piece of the pie. If the market goes down, you don't lose anything. If it goes up, you get a piece of the pie. If it goes down, you don't lose anything. And that brings a lot of peace and value or peace of mind to our clients, because they go to bed knowing that their account balance is X. They wake up the next day, it's still X, right? But there's also a lot of other values associated to fixed index annuities as well. But it's just about how do these all work together and mesh to build you a portfolio that's going to sustain the lifestyle that you want throughout time and make sure that you can pass it on in inheritance, pay for long-term care costs, do tax mitigation strategies. There's all these things, and they all can play an important part.
It's all important in putting together a financial review for you and a written financial plan. We offer that for free. 877-241-7430. A copy of the book, Conquering Retirement, is yours free as well. We're grateful for your time here, but you need to make the commitment. All of this is picking up the phone so that you can call and set up an appointment to create your financial plan and the retirement of your dreams. We're grateful for your time. We can't wait to see you in the office. We want to put together a plan that's perfect for you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. We can't wait to see you in the office. We'll see you soon.